Welcome to Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. It is Sewer Appurtenances under Module 1, Session 5 in the subject of Municipal Wastewater Engineering for the 5th semester students in the Civil Engineering Department. The contents are as follows: laying and testing of sewers, ventilation of sewers, and principles of house drainage. Coming to the laying of sewers, starting from outfall into the beginning sewer line. That means to say that outfall is where sewage is going to be disposed onto the land or onto the water body, or sometimes where it is going to be into the treatment plant where the treatment is to carried out. That means to say that usually sewers are laid starting from outfall end to the beginning, so that during the construction of the sewer line itself, it has to serve its purpose of carrying the sewage. That is the meaning. Coming to the manholes, which are to be constructed for the proper inspection of the sewer line, and always sewer line is constructed between two successive manholes. Coming to the detailed map study, always we have to show some of the details in the map regarding all existing roads, cable lines, lanes, etc. are to be marked. At the same time, pipeline with size and length also going to be marked. In addition to this, position of the existing pipelines, if any, curb lines, water lines, also to be located in the map. Firstly, the center line and offset line marking in laying and testing of sewer. The marking of the center line plays an important role where it shows the alignment, and in turn on the same center line we are going to lay the sewer line for a proper gradient. The first point is the center line of the sewer has to be marked by drawing an offset line on the ground parallel to the center line at a suitable fixed horizontal distance, maybe around 2 to 3 meters, depending upon the distance that is available adjacent to the proposed sewer line. Offset distance means the center line of the sewer usually getting excavated. That's why we have to locate another parallel line which is to the center line, that is called as offset line, with some distance that is called as offset distance. Usually that is of half the width of the trench plus 0.6 meter. This distance is called as offset distance. The offset line should be drawn in such a way that it should not be covered by the piling of the excavated earth. It will be discussed very well with respect to sketch in the next slide. Offset is used to find the center line by offsetting the fixed distance from the offset line. Usually temporary benchmarks along this offset line at an intervals of around 200 to 300 meters also be established by carrying the levels from GTS benchmarks. As I told, regarding the center line and offset line marking, it is a typical plan showing the trench width that is going to be excavated. We know very well that trench width with the center line for the laying of the sewer line. On one side we will have an offset line with a peg intervals maybe around 15 to 30 meters. As we can able to see from the figure, the offset line is drawn with a marking of peg intervals showing 15 to 30 meters, and you have a trench width that has to be excavated and has to place a sewer in this trench. And once the excavation is taking place with respect to the trench, the excavated soil has to be dumped on the other side. That means to say that it should not pile up on the offset line. That is the meaning. That's why one side we will have an offset line and other side you have an excavated soil. This is showing the typical plan of a trench, of a sewer line and offset line, and how the excavated soil has to be placed after laying of the sewer line, the same soil has to be used for the refilling of the trench. That's why we are laying the excavated soil by the side of the trench. Coming to this sketch, this is showing the longitudinal section. Earlier sketch we are having a plan, here we are having a section. Look at here, the right hand side you have an offset line which is at a half trench plus 60 centimeters from the center line, and in the left hand side you can able to see a excavated earth that has been piled up here at a 60 centimeter apart from the vertical trench, that is trench vertical part, and you can able to see the invert of the sewer is placed over the concrete such a way that the laid concrete may be around 15 centimeter thick, and the outside of the trench is so fixed that it depends upon the diameter of the sewer, outside diameter of the sewer, and clearance. Here we can able to see from the figure, it is the sewer having certain thickness and it is showing a outside diameter. Usually in the design of the sewers, after designing the outside diameter and finding the outside diameter, we can able to place it the sewer with a clearance 7.5 centimeters on either side. You can able to look at it. So the sewer has been, sewered invert has been laid over the concrete, so along with the that is required level and alignment. This is the typical sketch. We can able to visualize how sewer has been placed, at what depth it has been placed, and how the center line that is works. Center line is an imaginary line, and center line will be kept by keeping an offset line. So idea of this plan and section is very important in the next part of the laying of the sewer. Coming to the actual laying of the sewer, here you have different materials and equipments have been used over here. The equipments may be of side rails, a boning rod and a string. These are used to lay a sewer line in such a way that it is with respect to the gradient and alignment. Usually look at the bottom portion of the sewer line. So where the socket end is placed towards the upstream end, that is at the lowered end, whereas spigot is placed at the downstream end, so that we can able to make a joint easily. And look at here in the top, two side rails are interconnected, means two side rails are connected by a string, that string showing a parallel line with respect to the sewer line, and the vertical distance will be transferred from the string to the bottom of the invert with the help of a boning rod. That's why the boning rod is a very important one. The string line at the top of the side rails and the sewer line at the bottom gradient are parallel to each other. Therefore, whatever the string line that is in parallel with the gradient of the sewer line, the vertical distance will be get transferred from top to the bottom with the help of a boning rod. And you can able to see here string line that is parallel to sewer line from the figure, and a height h above the sewer invert. And see here sewer invert line in the left hand side bottom side, sewer invert line laid at the required gradient. Mainly we are going to lay the sewer line with respect to proper gradient and alignment. Regarding the laying and testing of sewers, after the bedding concrete that has been shown in the figure has been laid in the required alignment and level, the sewer pipes are lowered and that has been placed over the concrete. The sewer pipelines are usually laid from lowest point, as I told earlier, with their socket end facing upstream, so that spigot end can easily be jointed, as we discussed earlier. After joints are joined, the jointing is done with lead caulking and also with the cement mortar as required. During jointing, care should be taken to see that the pipelines remains in true level and alignment and do not get disturbed till the jointing material get hardens. Once sewer line is laid with respect to a proper alignment and gradient, before refilling of the earth, we have to carry out certain tests regarding the alignment and gradient. So that's why before refilling the earth, we have to carry out some of the tests. The test may be called as smoke test, water test, and that is for test for straightness and as well as obstruction. Coming to the smoke test, I think this test is conducted under a pressure of 2.5 meters of water and maintained for 15 minutes. Smoke is produced by burning oil waste or tar paper in combustion chamber of a smoking machine. Whenever smoke is allowed through the pipes, so we can able to see if any loose joints are there, the smoke will come out through the joints. That's how we can able to identify regarding the, I think, leakage of joints. And coming back to the water test, this test usually carried out for knowing the, that is, water tightness of the joints. So what is to be done here? The one side of the lower end of the sewer line is plugged and water is going to fill into the sewer line, and we can able to observe for some time such that there will be no water that is coming out from the joints, such that we can able to assure that the joints are, I think, leak proof. Coming to the test for straightness and obstruction. The first test for the straightness, the mirror is placed in front of one end of the sewer and the image of the section is observed. I think we know very well that the section of the sewer is circular, therefore definitely the image should be circular. That means to say that it has been straight and absolutely no obstruction inside. And other test will be by inserting a steel ball at upper end, and if there is no obstruction in the sewer line, the ball will emerge out from the lower end. That is, shows the test for the straightness. Coming to the ventilation of the sewer, we know very well that there are a lot of gases which are going to be generated during the decomposition of the sewage, that due to the presence of organic and inorganic matters. In due course of time, some of the gases like H2S gas and methane gas and carbon dioxide are going to be liberated, and these gases used to travel in the sewer line, and there may be a chances of making smelling and corrosive and explosive in nature. I think for this sake we have to provide, sometimes there may be a bursting of the sewer line is also possible. That's why we have to make a proper ventilation of the sewer. In order to make proper ventilation, we have to follow certain methods. The methods are as follows. So what is the first method is laying the sewer line with a proper gradient. Means whenever you lay the sewer line proper gradient, the ventilation will be achieved. At the same time, running the sewer line at half full or 2/3 full or 2/3 depth. Never we are going to run our sewer line full. And also next part, providing manhole with gratings, means openings. Whenever manhole, I think we already discussed, the sewer line is laid between two manholes. So whenever manhole covers are placed with the gratings, so these gases which are formed in the sewer line may be escaping through this holes which are provided in the manhole. And also a proper house drainage system. I think we will explain in the coming slides regarding house drainage, how it has to be carried out. And also providing the ventilating columns, means a vertical ventilating column should be provided in order to escape the gases which are produced in the sewer line into the atmosphere. See here, you can able to see a sectional view of a ventilating shaft or a ventilating column, and we can able to see ground level, below the ground level it has to be connected to the sewer line, and again you have a column, and at the top you have a copper wire cage so that the birds cannot enter into this, and a cowl like arrangement has been made so that the gases which are generated in the sewer line are moving to the higher altitude and it will be escaped. Usually the height may be more than 2 meters, so that I think it is above 2 meters, so it will be get liberated into the atmosphere. I think odor atmosphere will be prevailing over near the ventilating column. Coming to the basic principles of good house drainage system, I think it will be shown in this figure. I can able to see the diagram of how the water supply line and the sanitary line has been arranged from bathrooms, kitchen and water closets, and also wash basins. The blue line represents the surface water, and that is brown line represents the fall water. Coming back over here, you can able to see the principles of a good drainage system. The materials that have to be used in the, I think, house drainage system should have adequate strength and durability, and the diameter of the drain, that is the first sewer, that is called as lateral sewer, to be as small as possible. That is, first sewer that is used is lateral, which is in the house. And accessibility for every part of a drain should be in a reachable condition, and proper inspection and maintenance operations has to be carried out. As far as possible, the sewer lines has to be laid in straight runs and with respect to a gradient. Means alignment should be straight, and also it should have a proper gradient, because we know very well that sewage will be moving under the gravity. And inlets be trapped. So with a trapping, with the sufficient traps, we have to provide the sewer line to prevent entry of foul air into the building. Means the placing of the traps is very important at the bathrooms and wash basins, kitchens and toilets. And access fittings. Coming to the access fittings, we have an inspection chamber, a reading eye, a manhole placed at changes where the direction and gradient is going to be varied. And also inspection chambers placed at junctions. Means at the junctions we have to place the inspection chambers. Junction between the drains arranged so that incoming drain joints enters at an oblique angle in direction to the flow. Means the incoming water from the joints or junctions should not interfere the flow that is taking place in the main line. That is the meaning of it. And usually avoid drain under buildings if possible. I think I might have been told this is a typical built-up area layout of a building, and all around you have a pipelines. So I think you have this is showing the ground floor and first floor structures, so that soil and water pipes from different floors, and sanitary water which is from that is different water closets, baths, and I think wash basins also. So with proper inspection chambers, I think they might have been provided inspection chambers, circular chambers, where there it is going to be get collected and it will be conveyed. Regarding the surface water, I think in the parking area where we are going to collect the surface water, and roof water is also going to be collected, and it is to be properly disposed. I think we might have been studied regarding the collection of the sewage water and the storm water from the buildings. Sometimes in the partially separate and partially combined system, some part will be get mixed, surface water will be get mixed over here. So in order to maintain the self-cleansing velocity in the sewer. So it is the typical layout plan showing the house drainage connections. So with proper house drainage connections, we can able to dispose it of the storm water as well as the sewage in a better manner. Okay, thank you.